Hey everybody, this is Elise from Camp ASCCA, and you're listening to Camp ASCCA, the podcast, the show that dives into all things ASCCA and the people that make camp the incredible place it is. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on social media to stay up to date with what's happening here at camp. That's at Camp ASCCA, CAMPASCCA.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Camp ASCCA, the podcast. I'm Matt Rickman, Camp ASCCA's camp director. And today we're very excited to talk with Mr. Zach Woolley. Zach is working in a fellowship for an organization called NCHPAD, which stands for National Center on Health, Physical Activity, and Disability. Zach's a former Camp ASCCA camper, and we're glad you're here, Zach. Thanks for being on today.
You're more than welcome. Always glad to talk up Camp ASCCA, one of my favorite places in the world.
Great. Well, I appreciate you saying that. That's a good start off on our conversation. So we'll just kind of get a little background on who you are and where you're from. So if you wouldn't mind sharing with us, just any little bit personal, but maybe where you grew up. Do you have any siblings? That sort of thing.
Sure. As far as that goes, I'm 30. I'm 34. I will be 35 this month. Lord help me. I grew up in Hoover, Alabama. Went to high school at Up Mountain. Started going to Camp ASCCA at the age of 8. And I went until the summer of 2012, which that would have made me, I believe I was 22. So I knew I was about to age out of teen week. And I also knew that I was about to start applying for internships and things like that with my college stuff. So that's when I had to, unfortunately, quit coming to camp. But camp's always been a part of me. When I'm having rough patches, it's usually my friends from camp that I turn to. As far as my education, I have my bachelor's in political science and philosophy from Mississippi State University. And I am also a graduate of Birmingham School of Law with my JD. So that's my education. And then, as you said, currently I am an AmeriCorps Vista member, which is a part of AmeriCorps. Vista is more of our outreach type wing, and I'm situated with AmeriCorps and NCHPAD, and my job is to help facilitate capacity, which is community building, recruitment, etc. So,
Man, you got a lot going on. Good deal. You just took me back a little bit, Zach. I can't believe 8 years old when you first started coming to camp. That's amazing.
mhm.
All the way to age 22. And of course, a lot of our teen campers, kind of were in that same boat with you that they were aging out of that teen week. We've since added a what we call a young adult session, which actually goes all the way to age 40. And then, of course, we have our regular adult sessions that go all the way to, I think our oldest camper is 86 right now. So
Oh wow,
now that you got all the school and stuff under your belt, maybe you can come back to camp as a little vacation for yourself.
I might do that.
Awesome. Well, let's back up a little bit and maybe talk about young 8-year-old Zach Woolley coming to camp that first time. If you can remember back, maybe how you felt as a camper coming, and maybe not to put words in your parents' mouth, but maybe kind of how your family felt about sending you to camp at age 8.
Well, I think I had always grown up going to my grandparents' house, and my grandparents taught me to swim at age 3. Because as you know, being someone who has to use a wheelchair for movement, the water is one of the best ways for exercise. So my parents and my family have always been really good about pushing the boundaries. So my parents were used to me being out of their chair per se. But one thing that made it easier was one of my aides was a younger woman at the time. Her name is Susan Lee, and she's like, I can go volunteer with Camp ASCCA, and I'll just work that week that he goes. And I think the fact that Susan did that took a lot of, let's say, worry out of them, because the y'all just put her in my group. At the time, I had a really good counselor my first year. Um, I don't think you would know him because he didn't work a summer after that. But he was a really good guy to put somebody like me with because I don't think he was a rookie, so he was comfortable and knew what he was doing. And it was a really smooth experience for me that first summer.
Awesome. Awesome. Do you remember his name by chance?
Yep, his name is Daniel Dune. We all just called him Dune for short, but
Nice.
his first name was Daniel.
Cool. Cool. Well, good. I'm glad that first year was a great experience for you. And then obviously if you went, from ages 8 to 22 that you enjoyed
Hmm.
it and kept coming back. I guess that's my next question is, what made you want to keep coming back for all those years?
Well, when I was, hmm, that's a twofold answer because I think as time went by, the answer slowly changed.
Mm,
Um, when I was 8, I loved going tubing and going down the zip line, what have you. But as I got older, and particularly 14, 15, 16, that kind of puberty, turning into a teenager type aspect, which is difficult for anyone, but yet adding a disability on top of it, where my typical quote unquote, I say that because I hate using this next word, but my quote unquote normal friends began to treat me differently. That is when I needed camp more and more because I felt like the staff saw more to me than just the kid who sat in a chair on wheels, which is probably true because when you think about it, everyone that passes through the gates of Camp ASCCA uses a chair on wheels for the most part. So they have no choice but to look beyond that. But as a 15-year-old, I remember thinking, hmm, so this is what it feels like to have somebody see you as a person, not just the guy that is in the chair. And I think to answer your question, that's why I kept coming back.
awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for that two-part answer. That's pretty cool how it evolved for you over time. And camp had a different meaning from the beginning till to later on. Also, so glad you mentioned that. That reassures me that I'm hopefully saying the right things to our new counselors in orientation. But one of the first things I say to them on day one, because some of them are nervous because they haven't done something like this, is like, hey, don't worry about you're not working with disabilities, you're working with people, and that's
Right.
what matters. You'll figure the other stuff out, as we go. And we're going to teach you this and teach you that, but it all boils down to people. And yeah, it's your camper's name is Zach. Zach's a cool dude. That's all you need to know, and we'll figure it out from there. And Zach will let you know if he needs help with this or help with that. And I think that helps put their mind at ease, and that it's not really different than any other camp in that regard.
There are some that have a easier time transitioning than others. Um, I will speak on the positive. Like, for example, here's one that you will probably know. Adam Tucker was one of the best counselors I ever had. So much so that I even asked for him again, which I never did. Because I just always like, it's going to be the luck of the draw. But, some counselors are better than others because
Sure.
it takes some people longer to click. Because I can remember talking to Matt
Yeah.
McMillan, and I can remember looking at somebody and I would go, yeah, that one right there, he ain't got it. He needs to go bye-bye. Um, and Matt would say, maybe, but let's give him a little bit of time. And sometimes Matt would be right. And I'd come back a year later and I'd be like, wow, okay, it clicked. That he's good. He's a totally different guy. It clicked with him. So,
Right.
sometimes it takes time for people to realize, okay, this is what I can do and this is what I can't do. And that's what I think Camp ASCCA is really good at facilitating when it comes to how you guys do your training. And when I have done training for other things, I've often used examples from Camp ASCCA going, okay, this is how I've seen it done in the past. This is how I know what works. Why don't we try doing it this way? So even when I have done trainings for other camps, I still find myself using pieces from your playbook, as it were.
Well, that's awesome to hear too. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, the I'm always amazed too. That's something that's affected me over the years. You talked about how camp changed for you from age 8 and forward, and you kind of saw it through a different perspective as time went on. And that's kind of what's happened to me with staff is yeah, it's you know, I get to see the campers grow, but I also get to see the staff grow like you're talking about, maybe some ones that came in their first summer and then you see them their second summer and they're just so much more confident and so much better at what they're doing. It's always amazing. And in particular, yes, I definitely remember Adam Tucker and Matt McMillan. Those are two great guys from the past. So I appreciate you giving them a shout out. Speaking of shout outs, somebody just popped into the office here, wanted to say hey to you.
Hey,
Hello, my friend.
how are
How are
you?
you? I'm good, and you?
I'm great. Good to see you.
Good to see you. It's been too long.
I know. Forever.
It's been a long time. I'll talk to Jen every now and then and ask her if she's talked to you.
Yeah. You're still doing McDowell?
Yeah, and we're both involved with stuff in the diocese.
Yeah, sure.
And I, as I was just referencing with Matt, I helped them do a lot of their training for McDowell. So, and
Awesome.
I was telling Matt that I've taken quite a few pages out of y'all's playbook. Of course, with Jen and I both doing it, it's hard not to.
Yeah, for sure.
And for those of you listening, this is Amber Cotney, our program director that just came in.
It's me. I've known, gosh, Zach, how long? I mean, I feel like I've known you since I started here.
You probably have because, all right, let's see. What year did you start?
I was a CIT in 2000, so that was my
Then,
first.
then you definitely have because my first summer was 99.
Yeah,
That's
And
that was my first summer too, Zach.
yeah, cause my first, hold on, no, it was actually 98
Oh.
because, okay, I'm having to do the math. 98, I had Daniel, then Adam. By Adam, I mean Big Adam, then Tucker in 99. Yeah, so, yeah, so I started in 98.
You were always, when I was a counselor, you were always one of those campers that everybody wanted to be in your group. When we got our group assignments the week before and you were in the group, we were like, yes. Everybody was always so excited.
Well, that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I also have such a great memory of you doing the prayer before prom on the year that we did This Is Home as the theme. The tables all had white tablecloths and they were lined up down the dining hall, like the opposite way of normal. And you did the blessing and Monica sang. Like I have such a vivid memory of that. And it was so special.
I knew that she was doing that, so I can tell you a little bit of what went into that. So I asked to look at the lyrics. So it was, and then Katie Doherty happened to be in my group that week.
Mhm.
So I said, "Hey, can I borrow your fingers?" And she's like, "Yeah." So I actually wrote it out.
Nice.
So I didn't just say it. Not to mention, I knew there were going to be a lot of donors there. So I wanted to make it
Turning it up. I love
good
it. Yeah.
and see how many of those heartstrings I could get to
Well, you got
open their wallets. Let's say.
yeah.
See, you knew you were going to be doing this type stuff for a living even back then.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you knew this, Matt, but I've been involved with nonprofits since I was 3 years old. So,
That it was. I know your dad worked for Easter Seals as well. I guess he had you involved in some stuff.
well, I started out being UCP's theme child when I was 3. Um, because I learned how to drive when I was 3. Imagine having a toddler on wheels. That's what my parents had to deal with. But so I had always learned how to turn it on for the media, let's say, and it's a skill that has proved to be useful in many line of works, whether it's in politics, nonprofits, or the law itself. So that's a field of theatrics
Yeah.
when it comes down to it.
And you've been doing it your whole life.
I'm gonna
Mhm.
go for it. Good to see you. I just wanted to pop in and say hello.
Good to see you too, Amber.
Yeah.
Good deal. Well, thanks for sharing all that with us, man. That you're taking me down memory lane with some of these folks, Monica and Katie D and Big Adam, and that's awesome. That's awesome. A lot of great memories. Speaking of that, what would you say? Looking back on it, I know it's kind of tough to summarize it all, but what would you say is kind of your, I guess maybe your favorite activity at camp, meaning program, and then overall your favorite thing about camp?
That would be a toss up activity wise between the tower and I, for folks who haven't been to camp. When I say the tower, I mean the zip tower
Oh,
and tubing, which I like both. I guess you can say I'm an adrenaline junkie at heart, so
that's
I
awesome.
like both. When you told me y'all built a new zip line, you piqued my interest.
Yeah.
So
It's
one
800
time,
feet long.
okay, one time when I know y'all are running stuff and I know Dad's coming down, I might have to join my dad
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
We'll make it happen.
and take a look at that. That sounds like a blast. But my other favorite part, to finish your question, is the people. And that's why I told you, that's why I kept coming back. And that's also why that last prom night in 2012 was so difficult for me
Mhm.
because I knew to me, it felt like I was willingly giving up a piece of my security, of my safety blanket. Because whenever the mess was about to hit the fan, I would think, okay, it stinks right now, but, you know, 6 more months and you'll be back at camp. A week will come up and you'll be back at camp. So I always could hold Camp ASCCA out and say, if you can just make it through all the BX, you will have this to go back to. And I knew on that last night that I was willingly giving up that security, and that scared me on more ways than I realized. At the time, it was just I was sad because I was leaving. I guess in a way, I looked at it as my childhood, but now I realize it was deeper than that because I was leaving the security of the place that when it got to be too much, when I started going down the rabbit hole of BS that you have to deal with when you're a disabled kid or a disabled young adult, I would say, okay, if you can get through this, you'll be back at camp within this amount of time. And I could always hold that out to myself as a way to get through the rest of the mess. And now it's like, I think that's why I was so scared because it was like, well, now what are you going to do? As you've heard me reference, I had my friends at Camp McDowell, which I adore, but Camp ASCCA was always my first safe place where I could go and just be me. And it was hard for me to give that up.
Right. Wow. I appreciate you sharing that with. I've never looked at it from that perspective that camp provided you kind of that safety blanket and that thing on your calendar to get you through, maybe some challenging or difficult times. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's pretty meaningful. You just added a little something to what camp means to me by telling me that. So I appreciate it. And I'm glad that camp was able to provide that for you, and hopefully gave you some tools as an adult that you've gotten through. And I know you've done so many amazing things since you left Camp ASCCA. You mentioned your school and that working with Camp McDowell obviously kind of led, that came from Camp ASCCA. And then I guess tell me a little bit about the National Center on Health, Physical Activity, and Disability, and maybe what you're doing there. And is that an acronym? Do they have a name? Is it NCHPAD, or am I just making that up?
No, that's the acronym. Well, what you said is the full name, but it's referred to as NCPAD. So if people are trying to find it, just look up NCHPAD. What we are is a national database for anyone who has any type of physical disability. It can be severe as myself, which is a complete quad, or it can be something like a back injury or a nagging knee injury, something that just limits your day-to-day mobility and inhibits your way of life. And we offer several resources. We have inclusion specialists that are on call 5 days a week, which is basically like a social worker. Any help you may need medically, if you need resources, you can call them and they can help you out. We also have our wellness programs. We have Mentor, which offers a mindfulness course, a inclusion healthcare health health course, which includes nutrition and how to act and eat as a disabled individual. And then we have our adaptive physical exercise course, which is adapted for folks to be able to exercise even if you have limited mobility. And then we have growth, which is all about mental mindfulness and mental well-being, where we teach different techniques and coping strategies for folks to deal with. Like I mentioned before, sometimes when you're disabled, you have to deal with quite a bit. So growth kind of teaches you those coping strategies. And it's not a counseling, but we do kind of teach you tricks to help you deal with the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah, and it's NCHPAD. For the listeners out there, I recently Elise and I had the pleasure of talking with Zach and some of the other folks involved with NCHPAD in a Zoom a few weeks ago, and we were learning more about it, and we were so impressed with the organization, what you guys are doing. It's definitely if you want more information, it's listed on our website under the resource pages. So how you can get in touch. But yeah, definitely a great resource out there for people with disabilities and a variety of different things that you guys are doing. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. I get
And anyone who hears of this, you can feel free to reach out to me directly if you would feel better doing that. I'm friends with Matt on Facebook. I'm friends with Camp ASCCA homepage. So if you want to talk to one of us directly, you can always reach out to me and I can see what I can do to help as well.
awesome. A little personal touch there. I like that, Zach. You're a good man. Last thing, we'll just kind of wrap up a little bit. We're talking about camp and we're talking about your career and the things you're doing. What does Zach Woolley do on his off time? What are some of your interests or hobbies that you're into?
Well, as you can remember from me and several other heckling the Auburn players with my cowbell when they used to come during teen week, I'm a massive Mississippi State sports fan. I drank the maroon Kool-Aid when I went to Starkville. So anything keeping up with Mississippi State, I love. I love movies. I play video games when they are finger accessible to me because I can't play everything. But some games are easier to play than others, and I love to read. So
Nice, nice. A lot of different things going on there. We won't hold the state thing against you. Cottony's obviously a huge roll tide, and I'm War Eagles. So we all have
right.
things. All right. You just added one more question for me. You're a movie guy. I'm looking to watch something on Netflix or something right now. What's the hot thing going?
Have you seen any of the Reacher?
Yeah, I haven't seen the new one, but yes, I've seen. Well, I haven't read the books, I must admit, but I saw the Tom Cruise, and now I've seen the latest one, the first two series. So yeah, watch it.
Season 3 is airing right now.
I haven't
They
seen that.
they they've released 4 of them, so you can catch up It's good. Like I said, it's not so good for the extension tone because it makes me tight of the drum sometimes. But but let's just say I don't watch it when my parents are about to transfer me because it wouldn't make it any easier. But this season is fantastic so far. So if you're looking for something to watch, I would recommend that or Invincible, which I don't know if you're an adult cartoon guy, but it's an adult cartoon that's
Okay.
based off an adult comic book. The premise is basically, what if Superman wasn't so nice?
Oh, okay. That's an interesting take. I'll check it out based on your recommendation. How about that?
It's good.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, Zach, I want to thank you so much again for taking time out of your day and talking to us. It's been incredible, personally, to kind of catch up with you, bring back some old memories and things like that. So definitely don't be a stranger and come out here and visit us. And I want you to see camp. There's been a lot of changes since 2012 and get you back out here for a weekend or something like that. So we'd love to see you again.
Absolutely. Anytime you need me, I'm there.
All
So
right. All right. Thank you, Zach. We appreciate it.
thank you, Matt.
What's happening at ASCCA? This is the part of the show where we are going to talk about everything that's happening right here at Camp ASCCA.
Hey everybody, this is Courtney with the ASCCA update. This weekend we have rookie camp coming up. This is one of our favorite weekends of the year where we have first-time campers and their families coming to experience ASCCA for the very first time. Also, we have just put together a brand new activity for camp. It's a big surprise for the summer, but all of the elements are together and we're going to work on putting it in the ground very soon. And be on the lookout for next week. We have a huge announcement coming regarding our summer concert series. As always, we are still hiring for summer staff, specifically male counselors. So if any of you know any males that would be a good fit for us, please send them our way. And we're looking forward to seeing everybody really, really soon.
Thanks for listening to Camp ASCCA, the podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode and look forward to you joining us next time. As always, be sure to follow us on social media at Camp ASCCA and visit our website, campascca.org, for more information about camp.